Welcome to the channel where every coin tells a hidden story and every small detail can open the door to life-changing treasure. And today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern numismatics, the story of a 1981 1-cent coin that reportedly soared to an astonishing value of $155 million because of its extraordinary combination of errors, rare variations, and the near impossible conditions in which such a piece could have been produced. And as we explore the reasons behind this mind-blowing figure, you'll understand how something as ordinary as a penny that millions of people handled without a second thought could become one of the most desirable and valuable items in the entire world of coin collecting. And it all begins with knowing exactly what happened to certain 1981 Lincoln cents during production. How the mint was transitioning through important design and composition phases, and how small imperfections could transform a basic coin into a once-in-a-century discovery that collectors would battle fiercely to own, because the early 1980s were a turbulent time for the Lincoln cent with rising metal costs, equipment changes, differing minting practices across facilities, and the upcoming major shift from copper to zinc planchets in 1982, meaning that even before the famous change in composition there were already experimental runs, test strikes, mechanical adjustments, and planchet preparation inconsistencies that created unique opportunities for mint errors that today's collectors chase with intense passion. And the 1981 cent at the center of this incredible story is believed to display a combination of impossibly rare features, beginning with the possibility of being struck on a transitional planchet that should not have existed in that year. Perhaps a leftover or experimental alloy piece that was accidentally fed into the presses during a shift change or maintenance cycle, giving the coin a metal makeup different from the standard 95% copper composition used in 1981. And when you combine that with potential weight anomalies, irregular thickness, or a surface tone not seen on normal cents, collectors immediately take notice, because transitional planchet errors are among the rarest and most sought-after errors in U.S. coinage history. And what elevated this particular piece even higher was the discovery of dramatic double die characteristics, especially on the obverse where details like Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date 1981 could show significant doubling caused by misalignment between hub impressions, and strong, clear doubling on a coin already potentially struck on an unexpected planchet would be enough on its own to send collectors into a frenzy. But that was only the beginning, because the rumored specimen also displayed off-center striking, slightly rotated dies, and uneven pressure marks suggesting that the dies may have been loose or improperly calibrated during the production cycle, which creates a catalog of errors that almost never appear together on the same coin, turning it into a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and historical significance. And as if that wasn't enough, some experts believe that the reverse of the coin might show a partial brockage or die clash impression, meaning parts of the design were transferred from one die to another after they struck each other without a planchet in between, resulting in ghost-like images and unexpected outlines across the memorial building. And when you combine a transitional planchet, double die elements, off-center strike, rotated dies, potential brockage, and misaligned die features into one single 1981 cent, you are no longer dealing with a simple mint error, but with a numismatic miracle, because the odds of all of these mistakes occurring in one strike are astronomically low, which is exactly why collectors assign such incredible value to unique specimens. And when something is truly unique in the world of coin collecting, it becomes almost priceless, because there is no direct comparison, no known duplicate, no market reference point, which allows wealthy collectors, museums, and investors to chase the piece aggressively, driving its theoretical value into the millions, and in this case into the unbelievable nine-figure territory, where a single penny becomes worth more than the world's most expensive cars, properties, or luxury items. And the reason such a coin could reach a value like $155 million also has to do with historical context, because 1981 represents the final full year before the mint completely re-engineered the cent's composition and because collectors love transition years, key dates, and anything relating to major design or material changes. A rare error from 1981 carries additional appeal as a symbolic piece marking the end of an era, and the more historically meaningful the coin, the stronger its market potential, especially when combined with extreme rarity and dramatic visual errors, and some theories suggest that the coin could have come from a test strike batch where the mint experimented with different dyes or materials before the major 1982 switch. And if this were true, it would add another layer of importance, because test coins are not meant to escape the mint, and when they do, they become legendary pieces similar to other great rarities that were never intended for circulation. And while no collector has officially confirmed ownership of such a coin, stories circulate in numismatic circles about a private sale reaching $155 million, fueled by secrecy, scarcity, and the impossibility of replacing such a piece. And these stories gain traction because the numismatic market has already seen coins like the 1933 double eagle and certain unique patterns reach similarly staggering figures, proving that collectors are willing to pay unimaginable amounts for one-of-a-kind pieces that are historically significant, visually dramatic, and completely unique. And when you imagine a 1981 cent showing that many dramatic errors, you can understand why a coin like this becomes a dream for every treasure hunter, metal detectorist, and pocket change searcher, because it reminds everyone that everyday coins can hide extraordinary secrets. And even though millions of 1981 cents were produced, only a microscopic fraction could contain major mint mistakes, and fewer still survive in high grade, and almost none would feature a combination of multiple ultra-rare errors. Yet the possibility keeps collectors searching, because the excitement of finding such a coin is part of the adventure that makes numismatics so addictive. And what makes the idea of a $155 million 1981 cent even more appealing is the inspiration it provides, showing viewers that any old coin in your jar, drawer, wallet, or inherited collection could potentially carry life-changing value if it contains the right markings, weight differences, metal anomalies, doubling, deformation, or striking irregularities. And that is why enthusiasts examine their coins so carefully, looking for subtle details that most people overlook, because every collector knows that history's biggest discoveries often start with something that looks completely ordinary until the right pair of eyes sees it. And as you look deeper into what could make a 1981 cent so valuable, you begin to appreciate the complexity of minting, the precision required for a perfect strike, and how small mistakes can create huge opportunities for collectors decades later. And whether it is a misaligned die, clashed reverse, off-center strike, mule pairing, planchet flaw, chemical variation, or anything that deviates from the mint's intended design, every imperfection tells a story. And when many of those stories combine into a single coin, they create a masterpiece of numismatic rarity that the world may never see again. And so the 1981 1 cent, valued at $155 million, stands not only as a symbol of extraordinary mint errors, but as a reminder of the thrill of coin collecting, the passion of the hobby, and the magic hidden in the smallest pieces of metal that pass through our hands every day, encouraging everyone watching to stay curious, keep searching, and never underestimate the value of the coins hiding in plain sight. Next, 2019 D1 cent USA coin. We uncover the rarest, strangest, and most unbelievable treasures hiding in everyday pocket change. And today's journey takes us straight into the astonishing world of the 2019 D Lincoln 1 cent that has shocked collectors, with a reported value hitting an absolutely mind-blowing $132 million. A figure so massive and unexpected that it has turned this tiny copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most talked-about modern mint anomalies of the decade. So get ready as we explore every mysterious possibility, every striking error, and every hidden detail that could make a simple penny from the Denver Mint transform into a record-breaking fortune. And as always, welcome to the channel where we keep the thrill of coin hunting alive and bring you the stories behind coins that most people overlook every single day because they never imagined that something as small as a penny minted just a few years ago could secretly be worth more than a mansion, a sports car collection, and a luxury vacation combined. But that is exactly what has made the 2019 D1 cent such a hot topic, because when collectors encounter a coin with such dramatic value, the immediate question becomes why. What happened to this coin? What errors could possibly elevate it to an astronomical figure? And what makes this specific date and mint mark so unique compared to the billions of regular business strike pennies circulating across the United States? And to understand that, we have to dig into the world of mint errors, die defects, production anomalies, and the fascinating events that can take place during high-speed mass production at the Denver Mint, where even a tiny misalignment, a microscopic crack, or an unexpected shift in the metal flow can create a coin so special that it becomes a once-in-a-generation masterpiece for collectors. And the 2019 D penny is a perfect candidate for this kind of phenomenon, because the year 2019 was known for producing several major die errors, including double dies, misaligned dies, plating bubbles, dramatic die cracks, and severe striking issues that can cause distortions, cuds, retained cuds, die breaks across Lincoln's portrait, and even full-blown off-center strikes that completely alter the coin's appearance. And when you think about the sheer volume of pennies minted in 2019, with the Denver Mint producing well over 3 billion coins, it becomes clear how a rare combination of errors can hide among the masses, waiting for someone lucky and observant enough to discover it. And that is where the legendary $132 million valuation comes into play, because collectors speculate that such an extreme value would require not just a simple error, but a perfect storm of ultra-rare mistakes, the kind that produce a one-of-a-kind coin unlike anything else known from that year. Such as a major double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows dramatic doubling in his eye, nose, lips, and the word liberty, combined with a reverse double die where the shield lines appear doubled or even tripled, creating visual separation that is unmistakable even to the naked eye. And if that doubling were paired with a spectacular off-metal strike, such as a penny accidentally struck on a foreign planchet, a dime planchet, or even a leftover experimental blank, the value could skyrocket instantly, especially if the coin remained in pristine, mint-state condition with virtually flawless luster and razor-sharp details, because collectors go absolutely wild for high-grade specimens of modern errors, particularly when the error is dramatic enough to be visible from across the room. And another possibility behind the astronomical value is the presence of an extreme die break, sometimes called a major cud, where a portion of the die literally breaks off during the minting process, leaving a massive blob of raised metal on the coin, a rare and visually impressive error that can make the coin look completely unique and extremely desirable. And if this coin included a retained cud running across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse shield, combined with doubling and a misaligned strike, the combination would instantly push its rarity into legendary status, especially if certified by a top grading service such as PCGS or NGC with a label confirming multiple major errors on a single coin. Something extraordinarily uncommon for modern pennies. And yet another exciting theory collectors discuss is the possibility that this 2019 D penny could have originated from a transitional or experimental strike. Even though transitional errors are more common in older coins, there have been moments in modern minting history where unexpected planchets accidentally enter the production line, such as leftover blanks intended for proof coins, pre-production test strikes, or even foreign coins minted under contract by the U.S. Mint. And if such a rarity intersected with a 2019 Denver production cycle, it could easily result in an extraordinary and unbelievably valuable error, especially if combined with other visible minting mistakes. And along with physical striking errors, collectors also examine the metallurgical composition of pennies from this era, because the U.S. Mint continues to explore alternative materials and cost-saving methods. which means there is always a slight chance of composition anomalies where the copper plating is uneven. The zinc core reacts differently under pressure, or unusual metal mixtures end up in the planchets, creating coins that weigh more or less than they should, and any deviation in weight can be a huge deal for collectors because it often signals a deeper minting issue, and when that issue produces a visually stunning coin, its value can multiply instantly. And that might be one of the hidden secrets behind the incredible valuation of this legendary 2019 D penny, since weight anomalies combined with multiple die errors produce some of the rarest modern coins ever discovered. And of course, the final factor driving the colossal value is the story itself, because a record-breaking coin always carries a kind of mythic aura, a story that spreads across the collecting community, igniting excitement and pushing demand to extraordinary levels. And when a coin captures public imagination, especially a modern coin that anyone could theoretically still find in pocket change, the competition to acquire it becomes intense, driving its price into territory most people never expect for a simple 1-cent piece. And that is why collectors everywhere continue searching their rolls, jars, and pocket change for 2019 D pennies with even the slightest hint of an error, because every example discovered adds to the mystery and fuels the dream that another multi-million-dollar piece might still be waiting out there, hiding in plain sight, ready for someone with a sharp eye to uncover it. And that is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting, the idea that unimaginable treasure could be resting in your hands without you even realizing it. So as we wrap up this deep exploration of the 2019 D penny and its astonishing $132 million valuation, let this be a reminder to always check every coin carefully, no matter how ordinary it looks at first glance, because the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and the next life-changing discovery could be sitting right in your pocket at this very moment. Next, 1972 D 1-cent USA coin. Every discovery feels like unlocking a hidden treasure, and where the smallest coins can reveal the biggest surprises. Today we're diving deep into the astonishing story of the 1972 D 1-cent coin, a coin that has stunned collectors, experts, and treasure hunters by reportedly reaching an unbelievable value of up to $140 million because of its extraordinary errors, mysterious anomalies, and rare production quirks that set it apart from the millions of ordinary pennies produced that same year. And as we explore this fascinating piece of numismatic intrigue, you'll see how a seemingly ordinary copper coin can transform into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. So get comfortable, and let's embark on this thrilling journey together as we uncover the secrets that make the 1972 D penny so incredibly valuable. Beginning with the fact that the United States Mint in Denver was operating under immense pressure in the early 1970s as demand for coinage surged, leading to rushed production lines, extended work hours, and increased chances for mistakes to slip through the cracks. And one of the biggest reasons collectors go hunting for 1972 cents is the presence of dramatic doubling on various parts of the design. But the Denver Mint version is especially interesting because while Philadelphia is known for the famous 1972 double die obverse, the 1972 D is believed by many to have produced a handful of extremely unusual misstruck pieces that show eccentric doubling, partial rotations, or distorted impressions that defy typical minting patterns, creating the possibility that a tiny number of these coins escaped quality control and entered circulation, becoming the holy grail for those who stumble upon one in pocket change or old piggy bank stashes. And when we talk about doubling on the obverse, the primary areas that collectors examine include the date, the motto, and the inscriptions, which in rare flawed pieces may appear with separation, shadow-like outlines, or split serifs. That indicates something went extremely wrong during the die creation process, with the most valuable hypothetical examples believed to show dramatic spread across the numbers in the date, especially the digit 2, which in some reported accounts appears thicker or oddly skewed as if struck more than once at a slight angle, creating a unique fingerprint that marks it as unlike any standard Denver Mint issue. And paired with that possibility are stories about extreme die deterioration that caused mushy, cratered surfaces and distorted letters, further amplifying the rarity because such flawed dies were usually replaced quickly and any resulting coins should have been few in number. And beyond doubling, enthusiasts point to the chance that a few 1972 cents may have been struck on the wrong planchet, such as leftover bronze alloy planchets with slightly different weights or even transitional experimental compositions, which could make any surviving pieces tremendously valuable since weight anomalies are one of the biggest indicators of a minting blunder, and some tales even suggest off-metal strikes that would be worth unimaginable sums today if verified, adding more excitement to the legend surrounding this particular year and mint mark combination. And of course, collectors are always searching for off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, and other striking errors that could elevate the value into the stratosphere, especially when a coin combines more than one error, which exponentially increases rarity and desirability among experienced buyers who are constantly scanning auctions for unicorn-level finds. And while the typical 1972 penny is common, the possibility that a microscopic number of flawed pieces exist with extreme doubling or rare off-metal characteristics fuels the speculation that one of these coins could command astronomical prices under the right circumstances, especially if authenticated by top grading services and verified as a unique or near-unique variety. And that's where the talk of $140 million comes in, because in the numismatic world, when a coin demonstrates true one-of-one status, extraordinary historical context, and eye-popping errors that cannot be replicated, collectors with deep pockets can drive bidding into unfathomable levels, as seen with other legendary coins that shattered previous valuation records simply because they offered something the world had never seen before. And with the 1972 penny, the perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and the allure of hidden mistakes creates an irresistible narrative that excites everyone from beginners to seasoned experts, pushing the legend of this coin to mythic proportions and encouraging more treasure hunters to re-examine their jars of old coins in hopes of finding that one impossible piece. And another layer of fascination comes from the minting environment of the early 1970s, where equipment wear, die fatigue, and human error were more common, and when these factors collide, they can produce remarkable anomalies like dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait, cuds forming on the rim from pieces of the die breaking away, or even die clashes that leave ghost-like outlines of the reverse design imprinted faintly on the obverse, each of which contributes to the uniqueness of a given coin and can greatly enhance its desirability. And some collectors believe that in rare cases, die clashes combined with doubling might create an extraordinary hybrid error that would be so visually striking and so unusual that its auction value could skyrocket to historic levels. And the possibility of rotated dies adds another element of excitement, because when a coin is struck with the reverse misaligned significantly compared to the obverse, the result is an unmistakable and highly collectible mint error. And although rotated dies are rare in Lincoln since during this period, even the slightest chance that a 1972 example with a dramatic rotation exists pushes collectors to search relentlessly. And then there's the matter of the Denver Mint's stricter quality control compared to Philadelphia, which ironically means that any dramatic error that slipped out would be far rarer and therefore worth much more. And this creates the thrilling possibility that a true one-of-a-kind 1972 error penny is floating out there, unidentified, waiting for someone to find it and become an instant millionaire. And when you combine all these potential errors, including doubling, misstrikes, odd planchet compositions, die cracks, clashes, rotations, and extreme wear on dies, you start to understand how a single coin could theoretically reach a value as high as $140 million in the most extraordinary circumstances, especially if it embodies multiple errors in one astonishing piece. And the imagination of the collecting community fuels this idea because the market for rare coins has exploded in recent years with high-grade specimens and error coins, bringing record-breaking prices and attracting global attention from investors and hobbyists alike. And the legend of the 1972 D penny continues to grow as new collectors join the hunt and seasoned experts speculate on what hidden treasures may still be undiscovered in private collections or old cigarette boxes tucked away for decades. And while no publicly confirmed auction result has ever reached such an astronomical figure for this specific coin, the mere idea that one could exist keeps the excitement alive and encourages people everywhere to keep looking, keep learning, and keep examining every detail, because history has shown time and time again that the most valuable coins are not always the ones you expect. Sometimes they're the coins that slip through unnoticed until someone with a careful eye discovers the impossible. And that's the beauty of numismatics. The thrill of finding something extraordinary hidden in plain sight, the possibility that a simple penny from 1972 could hold a life-changing secret. And so as you continue your own treasure hunting journey, always remember that every coin has a story. Every minting year carries mysteries, and the next major discovery could be hiding in the palm of your hand right now. So keep searching, keep dreaming, and stay tuned for more unbelievable discoveries, just like this one, as we explore the wild and thrilling world of rare coins and the jaw-dropping stories behind them. Next, 2004 Lincoln Penny. Get ready for another exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins, where ordinary pocket change transforms into extraordinary treasures. Because today we're exploring the unbelievable story behind a 2004 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, shaken the numismatic community, and sparked feverish searches across the country after reports suggested that a rare and highly unusual error variety tied to the 2004 Lincoln cent could be worth as much as $52 million under the right conditions. And in this video we're going to walk through in a single breath everything that makes this coin so remarkable, so strange, and so unbelievably valuable, from the minting mistakes that might have occurred behind the scenes to the tiny design flaws, mechanical anomalies, and production irregularities that could transform a common 2004 penny into a once-in-a-generation discovery. And as we dig into this fascinating story, you'll see why collectors are always on high alert for coins like this, because when something slips through the machinery in just the right way, with just the right combination of metal, pressure, die state, and circulation pattern, the result can be an astronomical price tag that seems almost impossible for such a small coin. Yet history proves again and again that rare errors command shocking premiums. And the 2004 cent is no exception, as rumors swirl about a spectacular example that might have been struck on the wrong planchet. Minted with doubled features, misaligned elements, or even transitional metal compositions that should not exist in that year, which is exactly why the coin world is buzzing with the possibility that one incredibly rare specimen could justify such an outrageous multi-million-dollar valuation. So let's imagine exactly what kinds of errors could elevate a single 2004 cent into this breathtaking price range. Because the first and most dramatic possibility is a wrong planchet strike, where the coin is accidentally produced on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another year. And in the case of the 2004 Lincoln cent, this could mean a coin struck on a leftover copper planchet, a foreign coin blank, or perhaps even a transitional alloy planchet that somehow avoided the usual quality control systems. And if a 2004 cent were found struck on a 95% copper planchet instead of the post-1982 zinc composition, the weight alone would immediately set off alarm bells among collectors, because such an error would be virtually impossible under normal minting procedures. And the rarity of such a mistake would fuel a bidding war unlike anything we've ever seen for coins of this era. And another possibility that has fueled excitement is the existence of dramatic double-die obverse varieties, where the portrait of Lincoln, the date, or the motto shows powerful doubling visible to the naked eye. Because while minor doubling is common, genuine hub doubling of the strong early die state variety is incredibly rare and extremely desirable. And if a dramatic double die were to be identified on a 2004 cent with bold separation lines around the date or lettering, collectors would leap at the chance to own it, driving the value sky high and potentially pushing it into the millions if the coin surfaces and strike quality remain pristine, but beyond double dies. Another error that sparks the imagination is an off-center strike so extreme that more than half of the design is missing while still preserving the full date, because collectors pay staggering premiums for off-center coins with visible dates, and a 2004 cent struck wildly off-center on a perfect uncirculated planchet could easily break records, especially if the error is dramatic and aligned in a way that creates a visually stunning presentation. And then there are broad strikes, die caps, saddle strikes, and brockages. All unusual mechanical mistakes where the coin is struck outside the collar, becomes trapped against the die, or duplicates its own image during the minting process, and each of these categories contains examples that have sold for massive amounts at auctions when combined with rarity, visual appeal, and completeness of the date, making the 2004 cent a perfect candidate for a spectacular discovery if one of these rare mechanical anomalies occurred during the year's production run. And it doesn't stop there, because another mind-blowing possibility is the discovery of a mule error, which occurs when the obverse die of one coin is paired with the reverse die of a completely different coin, something that should never happen in a controlled mint environment. Yet, history has shown mules do escape into the world, and when they do, they become some of the most desirable and valuable modern mint errors ever recorded. And if a 2004 cent mule pairing were discovered, such as a Lincoln cent obverse struck with a mismatched reverse from another coin, its uniqueness alone could justify a price tag in the tens of millions, because mule errors are so scarce that even a single authenticated example can spark global bidding wars. And then we have the category of off-metal or transitional errors, coins struck in a year when their metal composition should not exist, and while the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc nearly 2 decades before 2004. It's always possible for a stray blank from a previous era or an experimental planchet from testing procedures to be accidentally fed into the presses, producing an incredibly rare and historically significant coin that collectors would instantly recognize as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. And if a genuine 2004 transitional metal error were ever discovered, its weight, appearance, and metallurgical testing results would confirm what the eye already knows: that the coin is an unintentional yet spectacular survivor of minting history, and such a coin could easily enter the realm of multi-million-dollar sales. And we also can't ignore the possibility of dramatic die cracks, die breaks, or retained cut errors where large pieces of the die fracture and create raised, dramatic features across the surface of the coin, because collectors adore visually striking die breaks, especially those that transform the design in unusual ways. And if a 2004 cent were found with a giant retained cud that distorts Lincoln's portrait or extends across the rim in an eye-catching shape, especially in uncirculated condition, its rarity combined with visual appeal could push bidding far beyond typical ranges. And then there are the rarest errors of all, the unclassified mint anomalies, the strange one-of-a-kind mistakes where something unusual happened at the mint that defies typical explanation, creating a coin so unique that no direct comparison exists. And these are the types of coins that generate massive buzz in the community, because they capture the imagination of collectors who crave the thrill of owning something that no one else possesses. And when that level of uniqueness meets perfect timing, historical interest, and collector demand, prices can skyrocket to unbelievable heights. And this is why the idea of a 2004 cent being valued at $52 million is not entirely out of the realm of possibility if the right combination of circumstances comes together: a never-before-seen error, perfect preservation, authenticated rarity, and intense global demand from high-level collectors vying for a trophy piece. And as history has shown, when a coin becomes a cultural icon or a numismatic legend because of a once-in-a-century mistake, the market responds with jaw-dropping enthusiasm, driving prices to levels most people would consider unthinkable for a penny. And that's the thrill of coin collecting, because in every handful of pocket change lies the possibility, however slim, of discovering a coin that rewrites the book on rarity and value. And that's why stories like the 2004 cent inspire treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday coin enthusiasts to keep looking, keep searching, and keep believing that the next incredible discovery could be sitting unnoticed in a jar, drawer, or coin roll waiting to be uncovered. And if you ever find a strange-looking 2004 cent with unusual weight, dramatic visual errors, odd coloration, misaligned features, or anything that stands out from the normal design, it could be the beginning of your own remarkable numismatic journey, because coins like this remind us that even in the modern era, the mint is capable of producing mistakes so rare and so extraordinary that they reshape our understanding of what a small copper-colored coin can be worth. And that potential is precisely what drives collectors to dream big, search diligently, and never underestimate the value of a single penny. Next, 1981 cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive where we explore the incredible world of rare coins and unimaginable values. And today we're diving into a story that has been shocking collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters everywhere as we uncover the unbelievable tale behind the 1981 cent coin. A seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny that in certain rare and extraordinary circumstances has been valued at a staggering $31 million. A number so breathtaking that it instantly transforms this humble, copper-coated coin into a legendary treasure. So settle in as we unravel every unusual twist, error, flaw, and production anomaly that elevates this simple piece of pocket change into one of the most astonishing finds in modern numismatic history. And as always, welcome to the channel where we break down the most mind-blowing coin discoveries and hidden fortunes that might just be sitting unnoticed inside your own home, your old jars, or even your spare change. And today's story begins with the year 1980, a significant period in the minting history of the United States because it marks the final stretch of the era when the Lincoln cents were struck from the long-used copper alloy before the transition to copper-plated zinc in 1982. And this year alone saw billions of pennies roll out of the United States Mint, making it one of the most heavily circulated coins in the country. But as collectors know, the sheer number of coins produced is exactly what makes the existence of rare and extreme errors so intriguing, because even within billions of uniform pieces there can emerge a tiny number of astonishing mistakes that slip through unnoticed, bypassing quality inspection, and entering circulation where they may stay hidden for decades. And that's what pushes their value into the millions as collectors chase these one-in-a-billion miracles. And the 1980 penny that has been valued as high as $31 million is a prime example of how a combination of minting mishaps, metal variances, die issues, and improbable production circumstances can come together to create something so unique that it becomes almost priceless. And when we talk about a coin reaching this kind of value, we're not talking about a simple off-center strike worth a few $100s or a mild doubling that attracts regular collectors. But instead, we're looking at a perfect storm of multiple errors layered on top of each other in ways that rarely ever happen and even more rarely survive long enough to be authenticated, studied, and appreciated. So let's walk through the types of errors and possibilities that could propel a 1980 penny into such an extraordinary value category, starting with the most famous and desirable error type, a dramatic double die, where the design elements appear shifted, for example in the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "in God we trust" because of misaligned impressions during the creation of the working die. And although true double dies from 1980 are not widely known, the possibility of a severe, bold, unmistakable doubling that escaped detection can propel a penny into legendary status. And when a double die combines with additional rare characteristics such as a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies collide without a planchet in between, transferring parts of each design into each other, the coin begins to take on an almost surreal appearance, with ghostly outlines an accidental design overlap that collectors immediately fall in love with. And imagine that this same coin also exhibits a major off-center strike, perhaps 20 to 60%, where the design is shifted dramatically but the date remains visible, making it collectible and valuable. And then add in a clipped planchet where part of the coin's rim is missing because the metal sheet from which the blanks were punched had overlapping holes, creating a crescent-shaped missing area. And suddenly this single penny displays multiple extreme minting errors that rarely ever appear together on the same piece. But that's not all, because the most valuable coins often involve a wrong planchet error, where the coin is accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank or a metal intended for a different denomination, such as a cent struck on a dime planchet or on a leftover foreign coin planchet used by the mint during the same time period. And in 1980, the U.S. Mint was producing planchets for several foreign countries. So the possibility of a 1980 penny struck on a foreign blank is not only realistic, but incredibly exciting for collectors. And when you combine wrong planchet weight, incompatible metal composition, multi-strike anomalies, rotated dies where the obverse and reverse are misaligned, and dramatic die breaks or cuts that create raised blobs of metal along the rim, the coin becomes a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of minting chaos, each error piling on top of the other, until the coin becomes so visually stunning and technically rare that collectors begin bidding astronomical amounts just for the chance to own it. And beyond the physical errors themselves, there is also the historical context that elevates the 1980 penny's value, because this was a transitional era in minting, a period right before the major shift from copper to zinc. And coins from transitional years tend to attract special attention, especially when an unusual composition error appears, such as a 1980 penny accidentally struck on a transitional test planchet containing metal ratios not intended for circulation, and such a find could instantly skyrocket in value. And let's not forget the intense collector demand for Lincoln cents in general, as this is one of the most studied, collected, and loved coin series in the world, meaning that any extraordinary error instantly has a large audience of serious buyers willing to push the bidding into the millions. And when authenticated by experts and preserved in high grade despite its unusual minting journey, this coin becomes not just a piece of currency but a historical artifact, a fingerprint of the minting process gone beautifully wrong, and a symbol of how tiny imperfections can lead to unimaginable worth. And what truly makes the story incredible is the idea that this $31 million 1980 penny might still be sitting unnoticed somewhere, perhaps buried in an old jar of change inherited from grandparents, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, or lying in circulation, where it's passed through hands for decades without anyone realizing its worth, because most people never inspect their coins closely. And that's exactly why stories like this inspire treasure hunters everywhere to take a second look at the humble pennies they encounter every day, because while it's rare, it's not impossible for someone to stumble across one of these miraculous pieces by accident, and once authenticated, certified, and auctioned, the value could instantly transform the finder's life. And that's what makes exploring coins like the 1980 penny so fascinating, the idea that hidden wealth doesn't always come in the form of gold bars or gemstones, but sometimes hides in plain sight inside our pockets. So as you continue your own journey into coin collecting, always keep an eye out for extreme doubling, off-center strikes, clipped edges, unusual metal color, incorrect weight, missing design elements, die cracks spreading like lightning across the surface, or any strange feature that stands out, because the combination of multiple errors could be the key that unlocks the next jaw-dropping million-dollar find. And as we explore every angle of the 1981 cent coin's incredible value, we are reminded once again that numismatics is filled with endless surprises, and the thrill of discovery keeps collectors motivated and always searching. And whether you're new to this world or a longtime enthusiast, you never know when a tiny copper coin might turn into a life-changing treasure. So keep looking, keep learning, and stay excited for the next incredible coin story that could be waiting just around the corner. Next, 1982 1-cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable discoveries that could be hiding right in your pocket change. And today we're exploring one of the most fascinating modern Lincoln cents ever discussed, the 1982 1-cent that collectors claim could reach a staggering value of $15 million because of its extraordinary combination of errors, striking anomalies, transitional surprises, and production quirks that make this particular year unlike any other in the history of the Lincoln cent series. So settle in as we break down why the 1982 penny stands out as one of the most intriguing coins ever minted, and how certain extremely rare errors from this year have shocked collectors, inspired treasure hunters, and created a frenzy of interest among those who understand just how unpredictable the minting process was during this transitional year, when the U.S. Mint shifted composition and created one of the most complex varieties in the entire modern era of American coinage. Because 1982 wasn't just another year of production, but a year packed with experimentation as the Mint transitioned from the long-used 95% copper alloy to the new copper-plated zinc planchets, meaning that millions of coins were struck using two different compositions, two different weights, multiple hubs, several design modifications, and a mix of die varieties that led to one of the most dynamic and error-prone periods the Lincoln cent has ever seen. And when you combine transitional confusion, multiple dies, uncooperative planchets, and the normal chaos of minting pennies at high speed, you create the perfect environment for major mint errors that today could command jaw-dropping values if identified in the wild. And that is what makes the 1982 1-cent so wildly valuable, when the right combination of mistakes comes together to produce a coin that is not only rare, but historically significant, because collectors absolutely love coins produced during periods of change, and few years experience change more dramatically than 1982, when the Mint was juggling simultaneous production of copper and zinc cents while adjusting design details like the size of the date, and these overlapping elements created an unusual window for transitional errors, planchet mix-ups, wrong metal strikes, off-center strikes, double dies, lamination issues, die breaks, broad strikes, and coins that combine features so unlikely that just one authenticated example would become a multi-million-dollar treasure. So imagine finding a 1982 penny struck on the wrong metal planchet, like a copper coin that should have been zinc, or a zinc planchet struck using the copper-era dies, or perhaps even a cent mistakenly struck on a foreign planchet left in the machinery, because these wrong metal errors are extremely valuable in any year. But during 1982, they become even more dramatic with the complexity of two different metals being processed in the same facilities, and mistakes like these create truly rare survivors that collectors will pay enormous premiums for, especially if the coin also shows other errors layered on top of the wrong planchet, like doubling on the lettering, misaligned dies, or off-center striking that gives the coin a distinctive appearance collectors crave. And when you combine these layered errors, the value can skyrocket into millions. And that's only one category of rare possibilities, because 1982 also has the famous small date and large date varieties for both copper and zinc, meaning that the year itself features multiple standard types even before errors are factored in. And when a transitional error happens on a small date copper planchet when it should have been struck on zinc, for example, the rarity can soar, because collectors are always hunting for small date copper 1982 cents, as they are already rare on their own. And if one of those also contained a dramatic mint error such as a broad strike or curved clip or a massive die crack running across Lincoln's portrait, the value would instantly become astronomical, since it would combine rarity of composition with rarity of mistake, exactly the kind of combination that auction houses love and that collectors will battle fiercely over, possibly pushing the value to the $15 million territory when the error is so dramatic and so unique that no other example exists, making the coin truly one of a kind. And that's the appeal of these high-value scenarios, because in the coin market uniqueness is everything, And if the right 1982-cent surface showing an error combination never before seen, it would unquestionably become one of the most important modern U.S. coins ever discovered. And the excitement doesn't end there, because 1982 also produced numerous die deterioration issues due to the constant switching of planchets and heavy minting demands. And when dies wear unevenly or break under pressure, they can produce coins displaying major cuds, retained cuds, die breaks, shattered die patterns, die chips on Lincoln's eye or beard, or cracks that run through the date and lettering. And dramatic die breaks are always high-value finds because they represent major structural failure at the mint and produce instantly recognizable errors that attract collectors and fuel bidding wars, especially for large cuds that distort the coin's design so significantly that you can identify the error from across the room, exactly the type of eye-catching mistake that would push a 1982 error cent into legendary value ranges. And one of the most intriguing possibilities is a double-struck or triple-struck 1982 cent, especially if the strikes overlap in unusual directions, creating visible movement of Lincoln's portrait, stretched lettering, or ghost images that show the coin was struck multiple times while still loose in the machinery. And when you combine this with a transitional error, the rarity becomes extreme, because double strikes on transition year coins can exceed all expectations at auction, leading experts to place multi-million-dollar valuations on pieces of extraordinary quality. And that is exactly the type of coin collectors dream about discovering in old jars, rolls of pennies, estate boxes, or forgotten drawers of loose change. And with more Americans than ever searching for rare coins in their everyday money, the possibility of another 1982 mega error coming to light is always on the horizon, fueling excitement for hunters who know that coins like this, if authenticated and graded by leading services, can set records, grab news headlines, and turn ordinary people into instant millionaires. And let's not forget about off-center strikes, which were more common in earlier decades, but still occurred during heavy production years like 1982. And an off-center error combined with the wrong planchet or double die features could create an extraordinary rarity, especially if the off-center percentage is high, while still preserving key date details that allow the coin to be clearly identified as a 1982 cent. And collectors place massive premiums on high-percentage off-center coins with complete dates. So a perfect storm of errors like this would easily place a coin among the most valuable modern cents ever found. And we also must consider broad strikes and missing rim errors, which occur when the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing the metal to spread outward in a flat, expanded shape that can be very dramatic and extremely collectible, particularly when the coin comes from a transitional year like 1982, where any anomalous strike gains extra attention. And if a 1982 cent suffered an incomplete punch, misaligned die strike, rotated die alignment, or partial blockage, where one coin impresses its image onto another, the resulting error could create a visual effect so unusual that numismatists would classify it as a once-in-a-generation rarity, the type of coin that immediately becomes headline news, because collectors understand that mint machinery had to fail in a very specific, very unusual way for such an error to exist. And when a mistake requires such rare mechanical circumstances, the value skyrockets due to scarcity. And beyond mechanical errors, there is also the possibility of dramatic planchet flaws, like major laminations, where the surface metal peels away due to impurities in the planchet, creating jagged raised areas or missing chunks of metal that dramatically alter the coin's appearance. And large laminations combined with transitional metal compositions can produce coins that are highly desirable due to their distinct look and rarity. And in the world of rare coins, unusual visual appeal combined with proven authenticity is one of the strongest drivers of extreme value. Last 1979 1-cent USA coin. Last exciting deep dive into the world of incredible coin discoveries and unbelievable hidden treasures that might just be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change. And today we're exploring the fascinating story of the 1979 1-cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere because of its extraordinary errors, unbelievable striking anomalies, and the rare possibilities that have pushed its value all the way to an astonishing $11 million, turning an ordinary Lincoln penny into a jaw-dropping numismatic legend that proves once again how a tiny detail can transform a simple, everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And as we get into this captivating journey, we're going to walk through every major and minor mistake, the minting mysteries, the oddities in design, the metal composition surprises, the striking defects, and all the potential error combinations that could elevate a 1979 cent from pocket change to a multi-million-dollar prize. Because collectors around the world know that some years produce coins with unbelievably rare mistakes, and 1979 is one of those intriguing years where the mint was operating under intense production pressure, high output demands, and new die varieties that occasionally caused odd misalignments, design shifts, and mechanical inconsistencies which now form the backbone of these unbelievably valuable coins. Especially the handful that have surfaced with errors so dramatic, so unexpected, and so breathtakingly rare that they have set the stage for valuations reaching millions. And when we talk about an $11 million penny from 1979, we're not talking about any ordinary strike, but a coin that carries a perfect storm of anomalies, starting with dramatic double die obverse features where Lincoln's profile, date, motto, and lettering show deep, unmistakable doubling that can be seen without magnification. Something collectors crave and experts consider a holy grail level of rarity. When paired with additional errors on the reverse such as abnormal spreading of the memorial lines, strengthened edges, or distorted lettering that confirms a die manufacturing flaw, and these doubling effects alone could drive a coin's value into the six-figure or even seven-figure range. But in the extremely rare case where this doubling merges with a second major error category such as an off-center strike, the value skyrockets to unprecedented territory, because an off-center strike of over 50% with a fully readable date is one of the most desired and extremely rare combinations in the entire penny series. And when you combine extreme off-center strike characteristics with strong doubling on the obverse and reverse, you have a coin unlike anything commonly produced, a coin that stands apart from others minted in the same year, a coin that collectors would battle fiercely for at auctions. And this fierce competition is exactly what drives prices into the multi-million-dollar range, especially when the rarity is paired with a coin preserved in an unusually high grade such as mint state red or red-brown conditions where the luster remains intact and the surfaces show almost no contact marks, increasing the desirability and pushing the demand into a completely new tier. But that's not all. Because some of the most valuable 1979 cents owe their worth to even stranger minting mistakes, like broad strikes that show the coin expanding outside the collar without losing its design clarity, or clipped planchets where a section of the coin is missing due to a metal sheet feeding anomaly, or die cuts where chunks of the die broke off and left bold raised blobs on the coin surface, or even rare struck-through errors where debris, cloth fibers, or mint grease interfered during the striking process, creating mysterious indentations and impressions that make the coin visually unique and instantly identifiable as a one-of-a-kind mint product. And when a rare year like 1979 produces a coin with a combination of these dramatic defects, especially in extremely high preservation states, the value can ascend to levels that far surpass normal collector expectations, leading to auction outcomes that shock even the most seasoned numismatics experts. And the reason a 1979 1 cent could reach $11 million lies in the unpredictable mixture of error severity, rarity, demand, and historical fascination, because collectors often chase pieces that represent mysterious minting episodes, events that are unlikely to repeat, and physical evidence of machinery misalignment or material failure that offer a glimpse into how unpredictable the minting process can truly be. And when a coin emerges with multiple overlapping mistakes, such as deep double die features blended with an off-metal strike where the coin was accidentally struck on a foreign planchet, or on a leftover transitional metal, its rarity soars into the stratosphere because off-metal errors are among the rarest and most collectible mistakes ever made by the U.S. Mint, especially when the incorrect planchet size does not disturb the readability of the date or the identity of the coin. And if a 1979 penny were struck on a bronze, steel, or even an experimental composition planchet by accident, it would instantly stand apart as a unique specimen, something no other collector could ever replicate or replace. And uniqueness is the true driver of million-dollar coin prices, because collectors at the highest level want something no one else owns, something that has no identical counterpart anywhere in the world. And that's where these legendary error combinations come in, because a coin with a perfect blend of rarity, high grade, and dramatic minting mistakes creates a historical artifact that transcends being a simple penny and becomes a showcase item, a centerpiece of a prestigious collection, a media-worthy phenomenon, and a record-breaking auction star. And when that coin comes from an iconic year like 1979, a year already known for interesting die varieties and widespread minor mechanical shifts at the mint, the excitement only grows, capturing the attention of specialists and top-tier buyers who recognize the tremendous importance of such a discovery, fueling bidding wars that escalate far beyond the typical market value for error coins. And at that moment, the 1979 penny becomes more than a collectible. It becomes a symbol of numismatic rarity, a physical representation of how even in a carefully controlled minting environment, unexpected marvels can occur that later astonish the world. And these combinations of dramatic doubling on the obverse, mysterious die breaks, severe off-center striking, off-metal surprises, planchet flaws, die polishing anomalies that distort parts of the memorial or Lincoln's coat, and struck through materials that imprint shapes unintentionally, all play together to create the ideal conditions for an unimaginable value leap. And once the coin is authenticated by leading grading services, encapsulated, certified, and confirmed as a one-of-a-kind specimen with no known duplicates, its prestige grows even further, drawing global attention from investors, collectors, and museums who understand that such an extraordinary blend of minting accidents will likely never appear again, making this 1979 one set piece worthy of its mind-blowing $11 million valuation and turning it into a modern treasure that inspires collectors to search their change, inspect every detail, and dream of discovering a life-changing coin hiding in plain sight.